Warning: the gel blaster toy shown in this video could be mistaken for a real firearm. Do not take gel blasters into public spaces or it will likely be treated as real by authorities. Gel blasters are classified as toys in Queensland regulations, however this may be different in your state or territory. Be sure to check your local laws before buying or ordering a gel blaster. Also, ensure you use adequate eye protection whenever using gel blasters. Stay safe, everyone. So, g'day and welcome back into the studio for another gel blaster review. So, today we are going to have a look at the AK-47 or AK-105M, whatever it is. It is what it is. Just quickly before that, I know I've been a little delayed on the videos. There's been a number of personal reasons for this. I'll probably do a channel chat soon coming up. I'll go through a couple of things and let you know what's going on in my world. But yeah, look out for that. I'll let you know, especially if you want to ask any questions. I do also have a HK416 and also an Lahui org, which I'm hoping to organise to borrow for some these quick little videos. So hopefully you can look forward to that going forward. I don't have any plans at this point to go back to the full long form reviews, and the main reasons are just time and equipment availability. I don't have the time and I don't have the equipment available or people available, because I need at least 2 people to do one of those videos at any given point. So I will probably go back every now and then and do them for a special occasion, but unfortunately I think I'm going to be sticking with these shorter style reviews for a while. Gameplay, if there's anything that's relevant, I'll chuck it in. Like, there will be a snippet of gameplay for this one in this video, but not like I used to do with the last one. What I'm probably going to try and do is just get more in the actual gameplay videos going. That being said, if I do get a good couple of games with one of these, I will chuck it in there, but not a guarantee at this point because of availability and time, like I've said. So, however, with all that being said, we will move straight on into it. Now, first things to note about this is the J11 or the JinMing AKM or AK-47, again, depending on what your preference is. Now, it is a nylon body with a couple of interesting looking parts and whatnot. It doesn't feel as solid as the ACR does, but I think that's mostly because all the plastic and the nylon in this isn't as thick as the ACR. I think the ACR was quite a solid blaster, and that's why this one doesn't feel as solid. Still feels pretty good, so it's not terrible by any stretch. It's probably on par with, if not a little bit better than the M4SS in the way it feels. As for the actual design of it, now, there are a lot of people who much prefer the original classic design. There are also a lot of people who prefer the sleek black tactical design. Now, ultimately, I don't really fall into any either camp. I like this version because it's versatility with rails and various things like that, because I have cameras and that way if you want to use foregrip sights, whatever. But I do like that because it's a classic look. So ultimately, personal preference is going to make the decision on this one, like I always say. So that's fine. We'll just move straight on into it. Now, the biggest one that's probably going to annoy people is this just here. This is an M4 buffer tube behind here, so that way any of your JM M4 stocks should fit on this. More on that when I get to it. So, starting at the business end, you do have your normal outer barrel here with A-frame style sights at the front for the iron sights, along with the extra pipes and such there. Now, if you have a look just there, it is a plastic barrel on the inside. That one's a little bit destroyed because when we were playing night games, I cut into it to try and fit the tracer unit on, but that's fine. However, you do have there a 14mm reversed thread, so instead of righty-tighty, it's lefty-tighty, righty-loosey, so that way you don't accidentally thread things on. You can get a hop-up as well that's made specifically for this. It goes on that thread, which I have one coming, so that should be good. With a hop-up, this seems to go really well. Moving further along, instead of the front hand grip being wood, you do have black, more nylon style with a bit of a quad rail setup. So you've got a rail along the bottom just here, as you can see there, and then along the top there. And you've also got a couple of small little rail sections on the side here. You also have a sling attachment point just there. The ones on the sides are only small, but they're still nice to have. You could probably get something from that without too much drama. Moving further along onto the start of the receiver, up the top here you do have the iron sights, or the back end of the iron sights. The idea being that you look through a little notch there into the front end there, just like so. I mean, sights on this, like I always say, are of varying use, so, but it's nice that it has it there, because I mean, it does have some adjustment there for elevation, but the reality of it is you're never going to need that. Moving further along, you have the main body of the receiver. Now, just take the magazine out, I'll get to that in a moment. With the receiver, on the left-hand side, you do have a sling attachment hook just there, just that one there. Other than that, it's pretty much bare, other than a little bit of plating just there. On the right-hand side is where all the action is. Now, you do have a slide here on a spring. It doesn't do anything on this version. Now, I have heard that you can get a blowback version of this. This isn't one, but personally, I prefer not to have the blowback version because that's one of the things that caused all the problems with these ones. But if you want one because you think it's cool, don't get me wrong, it's always amusing when you have a blowback. The option is there going forward. Just make sure you double check. Then you have your fire select. So typical AK style, up there is safe, there is full auto, and the bottom is semi-automatic because Russia. Just move it up like so. Again, only on the one side. Then you have your mag release just here. I'll get to that when we do the magazine. You have a trigger guard just there with a nice trigger there. The trigger reaction seems to be pretty good. Now, as for the pistol grip, it is this very similar to the STD AK-47 V2 version where it's molded and has some quite good finger grips. To be honest, I like it. It is really like ergonomic and helpful, especially when you're wearing gloves. I do like this pistol grip. It's a lot nicer than that one. So yeah, I'm going to be drawing a few comparisons, unfortunately. So yeah, pistol grip is good. It feels solid. It doesn't feel like it's twisting in your hand, that sort of thing. It doesn't have any texturing or anything. It's still fairly smooth, even though it has those finger holds. So gloves probably wouldn't be a bad idea going forward. And then we get on to the buttstock. Now, the buttstock is one of these things which is going to tear a lot of people away from this. A lot of people don't like the look of an M4 stock, collapsible stock on an AK. That's personal preference. At the end of the day, this is, I reckon, the best AK you can buy standard at the moment, which isn't hard considering there isn't a lot of competition in that regard. But anyway, but it does go pretty well. I don't mind it because I like the adjustment. I don't necessarily like having a solid stock, but it's apples to apples. Like, which one do you prefer? It's a personal preference, like I always say. You can take this off as well. A couple of little nuts just there, and this whole back end should come off. Now, I don't know if anyone's going to release a stock that you could bolt onto this. I wouldn't be surprised if they do or if they already have, but that is an option. To adjust, you simply lift that up like any of your M4 stocks and then clip it into place. There's a couple of different settings for adjustment, so plenty of options there for anyone depending on how long your arm is. Now, something to note, even if you hold this all the way down, it will not come off. This is actually really tight onto the buffer tube. So I have noticed this is the first one where it seems really tight. I'm not sure what the go is there. Also on the buffer tube, I'll just show you there. There is a thread there, so this should fit the same sort of buffer tubes as like your Gen 9s do. However, to remove this, you will need to pull this down with quite a bit of force. So it can be a bit annoying. I'll try and set it up so you can see as I do it. But you pull that right back, and she's coming out. So yeah, so there's your stock. Bit like your Gen 9 one where this back plate can come off, although I wouldn't bother with it. I just take it off entirely. And there is your standard black gel gun connection. Don't mind that bit of tape. That's me because the wire started getting exposed, so I'm just covering it up. Now, just to note, when you get this, the stock and buffer tube aren't attached. This back plate you actually have to put on. Now, when you put it on, the wire that comes out of the gearbox is only about this long. So there's actually a connection and another wire. This is actually a second wire in here. So there's a connection that happens in here, which you sort of have to cram into that space when you close it, and then that goes to the main one there. Something to be mindful of if you're going to pull this apart, you are going to have to deal with that connection. It's a bit of a pain to get it in the first time. Once you do it a couple times, you get used to it, but just be mindful of that. It is annoying, but it works fine once it's all together. So with your battery, standard 7.4 stick type LiPo battery, just slot it in the back like so, plug it in, and should be live. So we're all ready to go. So I'll just put that stock back on. Cool. So we are now live, but we do need our magazine. Now, something you can sort of just see in the bottom there is a cylinder. That's the top of the gearbox. Now, this gearbox I've been told is a V3 design, supposedly very similar to the RX in gearbox in how they work, and also the original G36 that Wells did. Now, I'm not 100% on what parts do and don't cross over, but being JM, I would not be surprised if a lot of their parts are crossover because they tend to make things a bit simple that way for manufacturing purposes. However, just double check that one. I'm not going to say that this gearbox will fit that and that gearbox will fit this because I think there are differences. The differences, I believe, are mainly in the top because that has the big weight, counterweight and blowback function built into all of them, whereas this one doesn't. So you may have some crossover there. I would definitely have a look at that. If Glow Greeter hasn't done a video on it yet, hopefully he will soon. I do know that a lot of the external parts on these do cross over. So for example, this top cover on the receiver with a rail on it does fit on here. So I think you'll find a lot of parts do actually cross over. This top section, for example, here looks like it's meant to come up the same way that one does. So I would not be surprised if you could get parts for that and they do actually fit this. Not a guarantee, 100%, don't take my word for it purely on that because I haven't tried it myself. But there might be some crossover available there. Right, now, it's all about the blast. So let's have a look at the magazine now. The magazine is plastic. It is a sickle style. Now, keeping in mind that because it's an AK, the magazine is huge. And this is why I actually always wanted a nice AK because, especially if you're doing milsim, that sort of thing, you've got limited ammo. You can fit more in this than you can an M4 mag. So that, for me, is a massive win. So, it is textured with these checker plate style just on here, but it is still plastic. It's absolutely nothing special. It's not like the ACR mag where the skin pulls apart, although it does look like you can do that, and the middle will come out. However, to fill it up, you just simply open up that door at the back just there, and then fill your gels in like that. Something to note on this, there's no catch or anything on the top of the feed tube up there. So if you have this fully charged and whatnot and you go like this, all the gels in the feed tube are just going to fall out. So be mindful of that going forward. Now, I have mentioned about this and the RX AK having a fair bit of crossover, and that is true. However, magazines are not one of them, and for a very simple reason. Even though the catch designs actually look the same, so I think they would physically fit, it's the mag terminals that are the problem. So on this magazine, the terminals are towards the front of the magazine. On the RX, they're at the back. So there is that, which is unfortunate because it would have been nice to have that ability, especially considering I have a drum mag for this that, you know, I would like to use a bit more. But unfortunately, it's not going to work for us. So just something to keep in mind with that. When you're placing the magazine in like the RX, it's very simple. You simply hook the front top end in like so, like that, and then pivot it back until it locks in place. Now, mag release is on the back there, so that does mean it's ambidextrous. However, there is something you need to look out for if you're getting a bit excited on the field, and that's these mag terminals just here. The problem is this catch, if you're not paying attention, it's going to very easily catch one of those and rip one of those mag terminals out. So what I would recommend is just being a little bit cautious with your mag changes. You know, get used to it first, put the hook in like so, just into the edge like that, and then pivot back. If you do it that way every time and you take a bit of care with it, you should never have a problem. I do know someone who immediately broke one of the mag terminals because they got a bit excited, so just be mindful of that. So we are now all live and ready to go. So before I jump into the chrono test, a couple of quick things. I wouldn't mind seeing some different adapters and front ends that you could get for this, such as a shorter front end, because it is quite long, as you can tell. I mean, you know, it is a long blaster, but I actually really like it. Now, I used it a bit earlier today. I don't unfortunately have any camera footage of that. And I had a small hop up on it, and it was using the heavy gels, and it was going great. It was fairly accurate. It was flying straight and true. Seemed to have a good amount of power. So I am liking it. I am actually thinking that this is going to become one of my standard blasters alongside my J10 ACR. So there is that. But before we go committing too much to anything and getting married to the thing, let's have a look at the chrono test and the accuracy and see how it performs. Righto, RX AK chrono test. So like I said, these are all the LDT War Interest Heavy Milkies, so I'm going to be using them for this and also the accuracy test outside. Take note of that. I have put a touch of silicone spray on these ones, however, I don't believe it actually makes all that much difference, so just something though to be aware of there. Yeah, so the other thing that's annoying is there is no mag prime on this. I'm really getting sick of JM not doing that like everyone else is. When you could have instantly just put it there, it would have been fine, but just something to note. So let's just charge up the mag. Righto. So I'll just go into semi-automatic and let's see how we go. Alright, seem to be averaging anywhere between 210 and 240, which is not a bad range, but yeah, would like a little bit more consistency if we could get it. So, full automatic. There were a couple there that definitely dipped down below even possibly 200, but for the most part it stayed around the 220 mark. I'm okay with that. That's not bad by any stretch. I think the biggest letdown for this in the case of FPS is just the really long inner barrel. So, I mean, there's no real easy way around that. Probably something you could do if you wanted to increase it is if you chuck an alloy barrel in, trim it down to the absolute length you need and put a green O-ring and a slightly bigger spring in, should take that out pretty easily, but yeah, that's up to you. Honestly, I don't mind it the way it sits. It seems to run okay anyway, but that's all right. Let's head outside and have a look at the accuracy.
Yeah, it still looks good. Did that hit my head? I can't tell.
Was everyone using gloves?
No. Yeah, I'm pretty much the only one. Stop shooting sideways! Coming!
So all in all, this AK does seem to go pretty good for a standard blaster out of the box. I am definitely happy that JM are putting some effort into building nice blasters going forward. I have heard they are going to do a AK which is going to be very much in the classic style look soon, but I haven't heard much beyond that. I've also heard that they're going to do one of the AK-74U, the real short cut down SMG style versions, which will be cool as well, but we'll see what actually happens there because you hear a lot of things. I did mount one of the lighter S tracer units on this, but the problem is I noticed that at least on mine, the thread seems very slightly different to the ACR. They're both meant to be 14mm CCW threads, reverse threads. However, there was a difference. The tracer unit would not stay on its own or thread on properly. I don't think this is a common issue because it seems like one of the other guys, his worked fine. I think this is just Chinese quality control, to be honest. I don't think that's a long-term issue that most people will face, but there is that to be aware of. There might be a very minor difference there. I don't think there is, but there could be, and it did seem to be the case. However, on some, it worked fine, so I just don't know, unfortunately. Is there some stuff that I don't like about it? A little bit. I mean, The barrel's very long, which is annoying because it does sap power, but I don't actually think it's too long. I think it's just a long blaster, and you know, it's a rifle, so you've got to get used to that extra length when you're running around, especially if you're used to your smaller style like these two. But it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a different type of blaster. If you've run around with an M249 or an RX, then you'll be fine, or even a M24 bolt action, you'll be fine with it. It's not a problem. The extra magazine capacity is nice. However, something you need to note is that when it starts getting low, I think the main feed gear is not in the best position, because if you even tilt up slightly and whatnot, it doesn't actually have enough gravity on the gel balls to feed them into it, so it sometimes misfires in that case. Annoying, but you know, it's not the end of the world. It's just a thing you've got to deal with. Automatic mag, obviously, so don't go tipping water in it. So yeah, any recommended accessories? Definitely hop up. Put a hop up on it, and this thing goes great. You can buy, DK make one that threads onto that thread and is adjustable, and I've got one coming. So I did test one out at the field earlier today, and it seemed to go really well. So I'm going to get one of my own, chuck it on there, and yeah, with the heavy gels, that should go great. An alloy barrel and a green O-ring would definitely help. However, this one doesn't seem to need it out of the box. It goes fine in its standard form if you have that hop up, so just be mindful of that. Most skirmish games are fairly quick, so you probably only really want one extra mag. One extra mag seemed to help me, but I do also like being able to spray every now and then if I have to, so having an extra 2 mags is just a good backup there. So I would recommend getting some of those. Other than that, it seems to run perfectly fine, so I don't even think, I think that a 7.4 volt battery is the way to go with it, because you got all this extra mag capacity. That way, if you're chucking 11 volt in it, you're just going to neuter that because you're putting out twice as many gels, and well, then you've got no real benefit of having a bigger mag. So that's my position though. Tell me what you think down below. I'd be very curious to hear your thoughts. Let me know if you like the design, or you like the moddability of this, or if you prefer the classic style like the RX up there. I'm very curious to hear what people's thoughts on this are. It seems so far to be fairly reliable. I haven't heard of any major issues with them like some other blasters. Again, like the RX, I've even heard that some of the later ACRs have had TP issues, cracking and leaking. Mine hasn't, but I have heard of it, so I know it happens. I've also heard of the HK-416 having something happen in one of the gears. I'm not 100% sure, I need to find out more on that, but I'll try and address that in that video when I get to it soon. So yeah, I do like it. If you bought this, you'd be entirely happy. I believe they go for about the standard prices of most gel blasters that are new at the moment, so you're probably looking around 200, maybe a touch over, depending on where you buy it. But yeah, I think if you bought this, you'd be fine, even if you're using it standard, like I said. Chuck a hole up on it, and you're good to go. Simple as that. So, with that, let me know your thoughts down below. Comment on the video if you've got anything you are not sure on. Let me know what you think, or how you like to run, if you prefer the AK, or if you're more of an M4 fan. Also, let me know what you think I should do next. If there's anything particular you would like me to do, I can definitely have a look at it. The other one is like the video if you like the review. Please share with your mates if you know them who are interested or might be interested in buying one of these. Subscribe to the channel, of course. We did just go over 2,000 subscribers too, so woohoo, yay for that. Not doing anything special for 2,000 because I don't think many people have forgiven me for the 1,000k special, and if you haven't seen that, go see it for yourself. Just prepare yourself and don't watch it with kids around, is all I'm gonna say. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed that, and I will, as always, catch you next time. This is a lot of fun. It's just nice to be something different.